All right, let's do it. Pumped hydro. I think that's what everyone's thinking about these days.
Well, it's certainly getting a lot of attention lately.
It is, and you know our listeners, they send in a bunch of stuff on PHPS, pumped hydro power storage. It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And, well, from its history, like how long this has been around is pretty surprising, to, how it might actually seriously play a role in, a future powered by renewables,
Hmm.
especially in India. We got all sorts of stuff from like blueprints really old, from Europe, from some of the first plants to like analysis of, today's global energy landscape and even a deep dive on India's plans. Like, are they serious about this?
They seem to be.
Yeah, so is this just a clever idea or is this a real solution to this problem?
What you say, clever idea, but the idea itself is actually over a century old.
Oh, wow.
The
Really?
first PHPS plant was built in Switzerland
Okay.
back in 1890.
So this is not some shiny new tech. This is old school.
It's got some serious history.
So why aren't we seeing it everywhere then? Like what's been holding it back if it's been around for so long?
Well, the early systems, I mean, they were pretty basic, not very efficient. And you also have to think about it. You need a specific geography for PHPS to really work.
Okay.
Mountains, valleys, water,
You can't just put it anywhere.
not just anywhere. No.
So location, 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 that makes sense. But there was a point, it seems like, looking at the sources in the 1970s, around the time of the oil crisis, that PHPS really started to take off. Was that just a coincidence?
No, not at all. I mean, those crises really exposed how vulnerable, I think, globally we are
Yeah.
to these disruptions in fossil fuel supply.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
Yeah. Sparked a global search for alternative energy sources. And importantly, ways to store that energy reliably.
Okay.
So suddenly PHPS is looking pretty good.
History's rhyming a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Same anxieties, different decade, and maybe PHPS is part of the solution, just like it was back then.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's fascinating because you think, okay, well, battery tech has come such a long way since the 70s,
Right?
but PHPS is still around. It's still a thing.
It's still a contender.
It's a contender, yeah. And our sources mention that in the US, it's a huge amount, like 96% of all utility scale energy storage.
Yeah, 96% comes from PHPS,
So it's doing something right.
clearly.
Okay, so it's a proven technology, it's clean, it's got this track record.
It does.
But where does India fit into all of this? I mean, they're really pushing hard for renewable energy, but is their geography even right for PHPS to take off?
Well, India is really interesting. They already have about 4.7 gigawatts of installed PHPS capacity,
Okay.
which is significant.
Nah,
But the potential, this is what's really interesting, is estimated to be 176 gigawatts.
that's 176.
176 gigawatts.
That's huge. I mean, that's what, like almost 4 times what the US has.
It's massive, yeah.
But I mean, potential is one thing, actually building it is another thing, right?
Right, yeah.
So are there concrete plans? Is this going to happen?
There are definitely plans. I mean, India has this ambitious goal of 500 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030.
Oh, wow.
And they see PHPS as a key part of that.
Okay.
So it's not just talk. Just last year, April 2023, they introduced new guidelines to actually promote PHPS projects.
So they're putting their money where their mouth is in terms of like policy.
Exactly.
That's encouraging. But what about the technical side of things? What makes PHPS such a good fit for their goals? And I mean, I guess for any country trying to, move towards renewables.
Well, let's get into the benefits.
Okay, let's talk benefits. This is where it gets good.
This is where it gets exciting. One
Yeah.
of the biggest challenges with solar and wind, is they're intermittent.
Right,
Sun's not always shining, the wind's not always blowing.
right.
But PHPS gives you this incredible ability to store energy when it's abundant and then release it like that when demand peaks.
So it's like a giant battery to like smooth out the bumps of renewable energy production. I mean, I get why they're calling it the unsung hero of energy transition now.
Yeah.
But okay, what about environmental impact? I mean, these are massive reservoirs, right? It can't
Yeah.
be completely harmless.
That's true. There are environmental considerations. Building reservoirs can alter ecosystems,
Right.
can displace communities if it's not done carefully.
Yeah.
But the impact, can really be minimized with proper planning and mitigation strategies.
So it's not zero impact, but it's weighing the trade-offs.
Absolutely.
I mean, compared to the damage from fossil fuels, PHPS seems like a much cleaner option.
For sure. And you have to think about the long lifespan of these plants, which can be, 40 years or more.
Oh, wow.
So the environmental benefits, when you think about that, become even more compelling.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A solution that can provide clean energy for decades. That's a long time.
It is.
Our sources also mentioned that India has some pretty impressive PHPS projects in the pipeline. Like, what's going on over there?
Yeah, we've got two major projects totaling 2,600 megawatts of capacity.
2,100.
And the estimate is they'll need something like 27 gigawatts of PHPS by 2031, 2032 to meet those renewable goals.
So they're not messing around.
Hmm.
They're putting their money where their mouth is. Is this just an India thing, though? Are other countries kind of seeing this and getting on board?
It's definitely a global trend. China, for example, is investing heavily in PHPS, over 89 gigawatts under construction right now.
Wow.
Australia is also making some big investments, planning something like 15 gigawatts over the next few years.
That's amazing. It's like the world is finally waking up to the potential here.
Yeah.
Like this old tech that's having a comeback, a renaissance almost.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And as we move toward this more sustainable energy future, we need these reliable, large-scale storage solutions.
Right.
And PHPS is really the only technology that can deliver on that right now.
At this scale. Yeah.
At this scale, yeah.
So we've gone from these kind of early European experiments to this global, like, surge in development. This is a pretty incredible journey for this technology.
It is.
What about the future, though? What are some of the challenges, the opportunities that are still out there for PHPS?
Yeah, it's like we found this hidden gem. You know, this technology has been like quietly working away in the background for over a century. And now it's like front and center as we're figuring out this whole renewable energy thing.
Yeah.
What are some of the hurdles that PHPS still has to kind of overcome to really, reach its full potential?
Well, one of the biggest ones is just the upfront cost.
Oh, okay.
Building these plants is a massive investment.
Yeah.
And that can be a barrier, especially for developing countries.
Right. So it's not just about having the right geography. It's also about having the resources to make it happen.
Absolutely.
But haven't the costs come down quite a bit in recent years?
They have, and they're expected to keep going down.
As the technology keeps getting better and more countries invest, we'll start to see those economies of scale kick in, making it more affordable.
So it's kind of a chicken and egg thing.
A little bit.
The more we invest, the cheaper it gets, and the cheaper it gets, the more we can invest.
Exactly.
What about the environmental concerns? I mean, we touched on that earlier. Are there ways to kind of lessen the impact of these big projects even more?
Yeah, absolutely. There's like a ton of research and development going on right now focused on how to optimize reservoir design.
Okay.
How to use existing bodies of water if possible.
Right.
And implement really robust environmental monitoring programs.
So it's not just about building, it's about building responsibly.
Right.
And sustainably. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, with all the hype around battery tech, is there a chance that PHPS just becomes obsolete?
That's a great question. And a lot of people are wondering that while batteries are awesome for short-term energy storage, they're not really ideal for the kind of large-scale, long-duration storage that PHPS provides.
Okay.
Plus, batteries come with their own environmental baggage when you think about mining and disposal and all that.
So it's not a case of one replacing the other. It's more like the right tool for the right job.
Exactly.
And for this kind of energy storage, PHPS seems to be winning, for sure. So we've gone from these niche experiments to this global push for PHPS. It's been quite a journey for this tech.
Yeah, it really has.
It's like we rediscovered this hidden gem right when we need it most.
At the perfect time.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we really encourage you, dear listener, to keep thinking about PHPS. What could this unlock? What could this mean for a truly sustainable energy future? We've given you the pieces. Now it's up to you to put them together and come to your own conclusions. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of pumped hydropower storage.